What the heck is that?
That was my big drawer.
Your big drawer. I hate to hear what your little drawer sounds like.
Well, no, you don't. My little drawer is
Are we AMSRing now? Because all I'm hearing is you chewing.
I just took a sip of water.
Oh,
You're
I did
such a.
that. Yeah.
You're just like.
See, I did that before I started the podcast.
Well, we needed to get in because I was being texted by my co-host.
Oh. John, I have been waiting an entire week to tell my TSA frustrations.
I cannot wait because you don't fly enough to have dramatic TSA frustrations. But
no,
when you do fly, you are susceptible just like the rest of us.
Right. And I'm glad to hear there were a lot of people that were excited enough to ask me about my frustrations with TSA. And I do need to clarify just a little bit. My frustration is not with TSA. I mean, I have some frustrations with TSA, but they have nothing to do with my experiences when traveling. I've actually had very good experiences with TSA as a whole. So it wasn't with TSA as the entity. It was with other people in line for TSA.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now you have me.
Now you're tracking, right?
For excitement.
Excitement.
Yes.
And this is one of the first times I think we've actually talked about something in a past episode, and we actually brought it up in the next episode. So we're already doing better this year.
It doesn't matter. Most
better.
of our audience is already sleeping anyway. It doesn't really matter.
And speaking of sleeping,
yes,
Buffy.
Can I just tell you, I am excited about that. Now, let's just go back to our last episode because if you'll recall, Nick talked about knockaround sunglasses. I spent $75 and bought 3 pair and got 1 free thrown in.
Nice.
So I have 4 pair coming because of your last affiliate promotion. So what's Buffy going to cost me now?
I don't know. You tell me.
What is
you
Buffy?
Said that you were looking for new bedding for you and your wife.
Well, it's a comforter, right?
It is. Well, yeah. They have comforter. They have, I believe they have sheets as well, don't they?
Oh,
I think it's all. I know.
See, now I'm going to have to order all of it.
I know you really are.
I'm not making any money by doing these podcasts with you. I just spent $75 last time, and now I know Buffy is going to cost me money too.
Yep, it is.
So have you been to Buffy.com or Buffy.co actually?
I have been to Buffy.co, and I'm not in the market right now for new sheets and new comforters because I bought some for my wife for our anniversary.
Aww.
And absolutely love them. They're right when they talk about it being the world's softest comforters.
Yeah,
they really it's unbelievable. So how about you?
Well, yeah, and I have told you that I've been in the market for a comforter, and because I've got this old one, and it's still fine. It's like a down one, you know what I mean? But the problem with the down ones is when you shake them, all the down goes to one side.
Yeah.
So if I get the other side covering me up, I have no down. And so I get chilly at night or too warm if I'm on the other side or whatever. Buffy has got, and I'm going to order one as I'm sitting here talking to you. It's called the Breeze, and it's made with temperature regulating eucalyptus. Now, this is not just an ad for this, but I'm wondering about that because I kind of like the idea of temperature regulating because I don't know anybody else, but I'm like warm at night and then cold. And so I typically have my feet out the bottom until I get cold and then I tuck my feet in, and my wife is totally entertained by that.
Oh, I'm sure. And my wife, she's back and forth, but she's always a lot more bundled up than I am. So the temperature regulation is a wonderful thing. And you had mentioned the eucalyptus fiber. Yeah. It's 100% eucalyptus fiber.
Wow.
100%. And this actually falls into what we had planned on talking about today, which we rarely have anything we planned.
Which is eucalyptus.
Well, not eucalyptus, but we were going to talk about global warming and being earth friendly.
Climate change. It's not global warming anymore.
Okay, climate change. My apologies. But this is super soft eucalyptus fabric that is naturally softer and more earth-friendly than cotton.
And that will withstand any climate change that comes around.
Exactly. It's cruelty-free. Each comforter protects 12 geese from live plucking. I hate it when I get live plucked.
Are you serious? Did you just read that? Or are you
I did just
making it
read
up?
that. No, I really did. It's right in front of me. I
Okay, so
rarely read ad rolls, but I just thought that was interesting.
can I
So I
just
did.
say live plucking as opposed to dead plucking?
Yeah.
Because one would
Yeah,
hurt more for sure, but the other one
absolutely.
seems
No, it
more
does say, it
permanent.
says from live plucking. Live-plucking.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Are you
but
sure it's
anyway,
not live hyphen plucking? Because that's different.
what did I say?
No, not live goose plucking, live hyphen plucking.
Did I say live goose
I'm just
plucking?
kidding. No, you said
You're
live
because
hyphen
you're
plucking.
freaking me out because I do say things that I don't realize I say a
All
lot.
the time. That's why
All the
we
time.
do these.
That is exactly. But folks, click the link in our show notes to now you're gonna make me laugh. Stop it. Stop it.
Oh my
Good God. But anyway, click the link in our show notes to have a look here at Buffy, help support the show, get free shipping and returns. And remember, all of your Buffy sheets, comforters, so on and so forth, they ship via certified carbon neutral shipping methods.
Wait a second. Do they have like actual geese deliver them?
They must. They absolutely must. Anyway, folks, on to the show.
Okay. The carbon neutral thing. I love Buffy. And I really am. I will get one of their comforters because I want to give a better send off, by actual use as opposed to just saying, well, it must be really good because it's eucalyptus. I have no idea. Koalas tell me all the time how wonderful eucalyptus is, but
They do.
I don't believe them. I don't. I need to say.
All right.
But that said, do you pay extra if carbon neutral is an option? Because it is.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you. Let's not even talk about carbon neutral. On the road, I remember this on the road 2 weeks ago, because last week we were in Texas.
Yep.
But 2 weeks ago, I went to a grocery store. I have this, it's a really neat gas station grocery store on the way to Cincinnati.
Mhm.
Went into the grocery store, got myself a turkey and cheese sandwich on a croissant. I got a 16-ounce container of strawberries and kiwi fruit. And I got a package of gum, like 16 ounces of gumballs, because I have an addiction for gumballs. We'll get into that much later.
Okay.
The sandwich, $2.50, something like that. The gum, 16 ounces, big container, $3.
Okay.
16 ounces of just strawberries and kiwi, $8.95.
Oh, wow.
For the healthiest thing on that entire list was $8.95, and probably had fewer calories than the other two combined.
Probably.
Well, that would make more sense. I mean, individually. So yeah, I was really disappointed in that. So
8 ounces? Is that what you
we're
said?
talking
8
16
ounces?
ounces. 16-ounce container.
16
So
ounce
I mean,
container.
it wasn't big, but it wasn't small. I mean, it wasn't huge.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're talking kiwi and strawberries, they're kind of the Cadillac and BMW of fruit. Especially, did you say this is like a gas station?
No, it's a grocery store. It's a
okay, so an actual
IGA.
store. So
Yeah.
I mean, so it's going to be high-ish quality stuff.
Yes.
Compared to some others, but 8 something.
Yes.
Oh,
it was unbelievable. And I'm this is not the first time that I've experienced that. I often say, and you hear it a lot. We've had this argument on the show before, and I'm wishy-washy about it. I'll admit that. But healthy food, a lot of times, is more expensive than less healthy food.
And I've heard that argument more than once, and I don't necessarily buy into it 100%, but I do buy into it that when you see food that's not particularly good for you and it's on sale and it's, and I'm not going to mention any fast food vendors, but we know who they are. You get 5 burgers for $5 or
Right.
something like that. I, and people make the argument that it, it's tougher and it's geared toward people of lower income and how it's, unfairly so that they can't afford the stuff that's better for you. Well, there may be some truth to that, as I said, but I think also it's kind of a cop out if you just automatically assume that you can't do it. Because I would guess that if you bought whole kiwis and whole strawberries, slice them yourself, it would probably cost substantially less
Very true. You
than
make
doing
a
that.
fantastic point. You completely took me off topic when it comes to the carbon neutral and paying for it, because I was trying to make a point. But
Yep.
I do agree with you. It does matter if you're preparing it yourself versus whether or not it's prepared by someone else. And this was prepared, but I guess I could argue the same thing about the sandwich. The sandwich, it was already the bread was made. It was sliced in half. The turkey was on there. The whatever mayo they had on there, and the cheese was all placed on there. Someone had to do that too.
But had you done that yourself, and admittedly, you couldn't have done it, so it was, I'm buying one croissant, which I guess you could, but then I need 2 slices of turkey, or I need 1 slice of cheese. I mean, you can't do that. You have to buy it in more of a bulk,
Right.
often a bulk option, and then split it up. So I think if you bought a pack of croissants and you bought a half pound of turkey and a half pound of cheese and some mayo, you could make a killing by selling croissant sandwiches in that store
I wouldn't
and selling
necessarily
them
go
for
far
$2.50.
as saying a killing, but you could make money.
Well,
Absolutely.
no,
The
but
ROI
you
is
could
quite
certainly be
good.
profitable. Yes, I would think the ROI would be very strong
But
in
but
that
even
case.
though we've completely blown my argument, I do
No, we
think
haven't.
you are right. I do think we do pay a little extra for that carbon neutral, but I think it's a buzzword. It's like anything. It's marketing. We right
Well,
now
to
that's
me,
kind of the key, the buzzword, as I said,
yeah,
for that entire movement. And I
yeah,
think once it becomes, and it is becoming more mainstream, as it becomes more and more, we're going to pay less and less. That's with everything.
yeah. Well, and there are options sometimes when we fly on airlines. Often the airlines will charge us, and they do, a breakdown of ticket fees and how much they are. And part of that breakdown is carbon offset.
Right.
And I've seen that, and I sort of roll my eyes because who gets that money? Are you paying it
That's
to
exactly
God
what I was thinking.
or but this is and look, this is my contention, and there are many people, and perhaps the majority of people, who would say, oh, climate change is real and yada yada yada. I don't disagree that the climate varies, because it does. You
Sure.
could prove it by empirical data, and so there's no question about that. Are we causing it is the real thing that is a theory, and there is really very little factual evidence to show that we are.
Okay.
I'll give you one really quick
Sure.
example. The horrendous fires in Australia. Um, Someone and a few people, maybe several people, have blamed it on climate change. And they say, see, this is what happens with climate change. And for all those of you who are ignoring this, it's just a lie, one lie getting bigger and bigger by saying climate change is a fallacy. And all I would say is this: they just arrested almost 200 people for setting those fires.
Sure.
So it's pretty difficult to equate that and say it's caused by the climate when people have physically gone out and set those fires. And maybe that's not a good example. I mean, certainly there might be other examples where you say this is climate change. But again, if you don't have data to prove it, then it's not factual. It may be your theory, it may be your opinion. But as with most things that are are put out there that we need money for this or we need to fight this, uh, follow the money.
Sure.
That is my rule of thumb. Follow the money, and you will find out who's getting wealthy from whatever they're selling
Oh,
today.
absolutely. And I can't disagree with that point, but I have a different take on it.
Please.
And this is I don't think I have ever communicated this well. So I'm going to ask for forgiveness ahead of time because I may not communicate it well enough this time. I had said in our last episode that a lot of people assume I think a certain way when in fact a, I think a completely different way, but I probably agree with them in some way, shape, or form. I do think I agree with you that climate change is normal. It's something that we have seen time and time again, but there is evidence to show that this climate change has sped up in comparison to previous climate changes, previous Earth warming events, which happen quite often. That being said, I am hard pressed to say we are causing it. I believe we have caused it, meaning everything that we did throughout the industrial age has led to the quickening of the heating of the earth. Um, However, I think we have made a lot of strides now, and in the recent history, within I'd say the last 20 years, that we are not currently causing it. It's everything that we had done in the past that we are reclamating because our cars are burning hundreds of times cleaner than they used to back in the 50s and 60s. A lot of the things that we're sending into the air is a lot cleaner than it ever used to be. I think there are a lot of factors that we have done in the past that we still have to make up for, but I do think we're in the right direction. And what I hear in the media quite often, and what I hear from a lot of people, is that we are currently causing it. Well, okay, great. Tell us how we can increase or decrease the amount that we're putting in the air now, because we are well on our way to fixing it, if you can even say fix it, because I don't think we can. But we can at least slow it down somewhat by the things that we're accomplishing. But if there's more that we can do, bring it on. But you've
So
got to
the
tell us.
difference,
You can't just say, "Oh, it's all of our fault." Well, okay.
what they want, typically, what those big proponents of climate change want us to do is send money.
Oh, absolutely.
And the climate change accords that they've been talking about that Trump pulled out of, I mean, it meant trillions of dollars, money we do not have,
Right.
by the way. Uh, and again, you are correct when you say we can't fix it. This is bigger than us, and it's a big difference between climate change and environment.
Right.
People assume that if you don't buy into climate change, that you don't give a shit about the environment, and that is so untrue.
That's very
I
untrue.
do not want dirty air.
No.
I do not want dirty water. That's not equated. However, to say that by sending money to Sweden or sending money to Germany, that it is going to help our climate get any better. It's not. It does not make any difference. It just sends money. It's just income distribution. That's really
Yeah.
all it is. And so, look, I'm not here to debate one way or the other how that goes, but I think it's important for us to take a serious look at some of this stuff. When with the California wildfires in the last year in 2019, it's said that over the course of 1 week, that did more damage to the air than all of the cars do in California in 2 years. So it's not. I think it's a great thing that we've done with emissions in California and around the entire country. I think it's kind of crap that they have to have a separate way of dealing with it. But again, that's just them thinking they have it figured out. If that's the best way to do it, then the entire country should do it that
Right.
way. It's pretty simple. But anyway, the point is that there are things that are out of our control. That we let's say volcanoes, for example, does more damage to the air quality than anything we have ever done with vehicles or manufacturing plants, or we just cannot equate with stuff like that
Sure.
because it does so much more to the environment, more
And
than we could ever do. And if you look at countries like China and like India, they are not nearly as regulated as we are when it comes to uh, uh, spewing whatever into the environment. And if you don't believe me, look at the air quality in, oh, I don't know, Mexico City
right.
or in Shanghai. It's just, and again, there's no simple solution. There's nothing to say that we shouldn't care about that stuff. If it impacts the air and water quality, I think we are all, it's inherent upon us to help do whatever we can.
Absolutely.
But
We need to do
it's
that.
not
Eh,
we don't have the money to do it for the entire planet.
Correct.
We have to teach people to do it for
Right.
themselves.
And that's what we need to focus on. And that's when I'm home, we try to limit what we use. So we have silicone sandwich bags. So we don't buy uh, sandwich bags that are, we just toss in the garbage when they're done. No, we rewash them. And if we do buy them, we rewash those. I try to drink, all of us, my daughter, wife, and I drink out of reusable containers. I try not to buy plastic if I can avoid it. And, we recycle, we compost, we do all of this stuff, but it's education. How much of this stuff is actually helping? I saw a documentary about 90% of or 80% of our recycling goes to another country, and then it just
Mhm.
half of it's burned anyways. I mean, that's
Mm.
not the point of recycling. So, there's a lot of different things to look at this, but after all of that and everything that you said, I'm going to look at this a little bit different and say something that might not be either not thought of or maybe not very popular is the earth has come back from warming a lot. Hundreds of thousands of years. It's gone back and forth. Yes, we may be speeding it up, but the one thing you had mentioned in your little diatribe is something that I think probably will happen soon, and it's going to be a horrible disaster, but it's going to do what the earth does every single time, and it's going to right itself. And I think that would be a volcano eruption. We get
Mm.
a major volcano eruption or multiple volcano eruptions at the same time. We're going to
Mm.
throw so much volcanic ash up into the atmosphere, it's going to block out the sun, and the earth is going to cool.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
how we're going to write it.
As you said, I mean, the Earth has done that. That's just how it's. And people who do not believe in God would not say that, that's an act of God, but it is what it is. It's again, I do, so that's what I would call it. Someone else might say that it's Mother Nature getting even with us or whatever,
Right.
and however you want to define it, that's fine. It's just um, the truth is that it's out of our control,
Absolutely.
and as soon as we recognize that, we stop writing a prescription for government to try and control everything,
Yes.
because government cannot control everything.
No. No. But I do agree with you. We still need to be responsible, and we still need to do what we can to preserve what we have. And
Yeah, and I'm not.
if there is a way to recover, I'm all
Yep,
for it. But
for
tell me
sure.
how to do it.
And but well, yeah, telling me how to do it would be an opinion that probably would have very little bearing on changing it, just because we play such a small role
Yes.
in this. However, it's a challenge for people to say, well, then why should I do it? Well, because it's the right thing to do, and you have to make those calls. Much as the same as you talk about, it's reducing our hesitate to call it a carbon footprint, but it sort of is. Just do the least damage,
Right.
and that's not just what we owe to the earth necessarily, but what we owe to future generations.
Right.
And I have
Absolutely.
a granddaughter that I want to grow up in a good environment with clean air and clean water,
Hmm.
and that stuff is really important. But for anyone to think that because I have a plastic water bottle here And for anyone to think that that is, well, you know what, you're preventing your granddaughter from, that's not true.
No.
It's just not accurate.
Right.
It's one of the, I will recycle this. I'm not going to throw it in the river.
Right.
But again, those things, as far as the impact we can have, are it's small in the larger scheme of things, but we still need to do it because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Yep.
See, we're too agreeable.
Sometimes,
You should say,
not
I think you're
always.
full of crap, John.
Well, but that's why we get along, is because, but
Yeah.
you don't agree with everything that I said, and I don't agree with everything you said either. But at the same side, we come to the conclusion that in the grand scheme of things, we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it different ways. It's
Correct.
and it's kind of like too with a lot of these products. So a lot of these fixes, because I'm already hearing people's reaction to some of the things we've said, but
Yep.
you're going to hear people say, well, we can always go to solar and that will help. And we can drive electric cars and that will help.
Sure.
Well, sure. The idea is correct, but let's take cars, for example. How much pollution goes in the air making the batteries that we put in the car? Or where do
And
those
then
batteries
recharging
them? And then
Yeah.
also, where do those batteries go when they're no good anymore? What do they do?
Yeah.
Because they're not clean. It's not just
Yeah, it's
water.
interesting you say that, because that's the part, and even just from a fiscal standpoint, that's the part that prevents me from doing anything other than, for example, leasing an electric car.
Right.
Just because I don't want something I own to be either A, dangerous for the environment, or B, worth nothing because the battery is shot.
Right.
And that's a real, I mean, that's a reality these days. Now, I will give Elon Musk big props where it's due, because he has helped, if not himself, has helped spur technology
Oh,
when it comes to
absolutely.
batteries.
And I'm
and
not
I give
saying
him
I would
credit for
I would honestly love to drive an electric car, but I just
Mm.
want to be a realist about it, because I do think driving internal combustion engine cars is quote unquote bad for the environment, but we don't have a good alternative yet. And the electric cars are a good alternative in theory, but there's still some things that we need to figure out to make it a good idea in actuality.
Yeah, and again, it's the theory behind it that some people will buy into, and if we never had to charge them, and if we never had to worry about the what to do with the batteries after they're done, then absolutely, they, in a utopian connection like that, it would be fine. But in reality, that's not how it works.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into the picture. So,
Yep.
and again, we talk about, I truly believe this is going to happen, where people who may be considering an electric vehicle, and they're mainstream now, which I really think is exciting.
Yeah,
And
Tesla
I'm happy about
is
that
worth more than Ford and GM combined.
Well, okay, and that's that may be open for interpretation.
Well,
But
that's what their shares show.
yeah, they do, and I would just say that they are a non-profit company right now.
That's true.
So it all depends what somebody wants to pay, but that said, I think they're brilliant when it comes to innovation, and I think I mean, everything like that is a good investment these days, for especially the way the stock market is today. Over 29,000 again was the Dow Jones today, and that's incredible. But just truly amazing. But that said, I think what's going to happen is, even the more viable the electric vehicles get, if they ever threaten the internal combustion engine, you will find gas prices going to 25 cents a gallon.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. It's all about money. It's all about maintaining your business, and they still have the market cornered when it comes to what we as Americans or the rest of the world drives.
What we currently own. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And that's the point, that if you will find how serious people are about electric, and how big it is when it suddenly costs twice as much to drive
Oh, we
one
saw. I
as
mean,
it
we already
does.
saw that a few years ago when it came to SUVs and trucks. We had this. Everyone was
Yep.
buying up SUVs and trucks, and it was a great thing. And then all of a sudden, gas went through the roof, and everyone was buying economy cars. Gas went back down. Everyone's back to buying trucks and SUVs.
And you know what they did with the economy cars?
They crushed them. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, a lot of people. In fact, I saw a write up on it about how the people who had reacted that way and went to these small vehicles that they weren't used to, frankly, they thought, well, I'll teach them. I'm going to, get something that gets 40 to 50 miles to the gallon. And then after they drove them for 6 months, they traded them in
and got a bigger car. Yeah,
they could.
Yeah.
And that's, that's just the overreaction of the industry in a large way, because gasoline at $4 a gallon, while it doesn't make anybody happy, it's still not it's still not necessarily prohibitive when it comes to buying an internal combustion engine.
Correct.
What the problem was how the manufacturers reacted.
Yeah.
And we've joked about this before. General Motors and Chrysler and some others said, we're going to stop leasing cars, because they lost their butts on closed-end leases and captive finance companies. They said, we're not going to lease any more cars, because now suddenly this $70,000 pickup is not worth $40,000 after a 3-year lease like we assumed it would be. It's only worth $20 because gas is at $4.50 a gallon.
Right.
And what really happened was they found that you cannot not lease $70,000 pickups, because you cannot afford to put somebody in a 10-year loan on a $70,000 pickup,
Right.
because they will be out of the market literally for 8 years, if not longer.
Yep. Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah,
I digress.
As we often do.
Often do, yes.
So again, going back to my original comment, I hear all these arguments, and the interesting thing is, and I'm not going to dive too far into it, because I think we could argue it many different ways. I can see the pluses and the minuses for a lot of different things, but one argument that comes to mind that my wife would actually give is, and a lot of documentaries that we've watched show it, and it does make sense. But one way to reduce our quote unquote carbon footprint is to reduce the number of animals that we slaughter every year. So, cows have a lot of methane, and they put a lot of methane into the air, and you reduce the number of cows on the earth, and the methane comes down, and that's a very large pollutant. And that's one of the vegan and vegetarians' arguments to eat, obviously, less meat. And again, it does make sense, but at the same time, I don't think it's the top argument. And there are people to argue both ways. I do personally agree that we need to eat less meat, but it has less to do, unfortunately or fortunately, for the environment. I think it's both ways will help with the environment, but for me, it has less to do with the environment, more to do with our health.
Well, I think the beauty of being in a free society is you eat what you want to eat. I think we all know the pluses and minuses. If not, we have not gone online, because you can find opinions everywhere.
Are you saying opinions are like assholes?
Everyone has one. But it's true, and you know that, because you will find, for every study you find that says veganism is the way to go, the healthiest lifestyle, and blah blah blah, you will find another study that says if you eat chicken and fish and so on, it's a much better source of protein than anything you can get in a vegan lifestyle. And again, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just representing that there are many different opinions out there.
Yep.
And some are medically oriented. In fact, most of them. But look, we're in a free society. You're free to choose.
Yep.
I do not believe in government mandates for what we can and cannot do. And so, for instance, you can't have anything over a 24-ounce soda or whatever. You know what? Seriously,
Yep.
I'm going to go get a carton of cigarettes and smoke the heck out of them, and then I'm going to get a case of beer and drink it all, and then I'm going, that you can't do that. You cannot legislate a morality or B what makes someone act the way you want them to. A free society does not allow for that.
Agreed. Yep. No,
Yeah.
I agree with you. That being said, I do think that there is a side to that where we do need to have some of these companies that create these products a little bit more accountable. And I'm not going to communicate this well the way I'm thinking, because I believe in a free society. I believe you should have whatever you want to have and enjoy it. And if it makes you sick, that's your fault. I believe that everyone has the ability to say no, but on the other side of things, should some of these items that make us sick actually exist?
Well, the question just becomes, where do you draw the line
Right.
then? Is it because alcohol is basically a poison?
Correct.
And so if you're
And we
going
all know we
to
love our
say,
alcohol. So
but if you're going to say, get rid of it all because it might cause someone to not be healthy. Well, wait a second. Then it's cigarettes, and then vaping becomes big,
Right.
and then vaping kills
Right.
you. And then, look, everybody, we have to accept that everybody is terminal.
Yep.
Everyone who walks on this planet is terminally ill, and we are going to die someday of something. And anyone who, who says otherwise does not pay much attention to history. So we can do things if we want to live longer, but some people would rather, and it's their life. So you can live your life the way you want to. Some people make terrible decisions.
Yep.
Lord knows I have in the past.
Likewise.
Some people make great decisions, but they get hit by a bus.
Right.
But look how healthy he was when he got hit by the bus. That doesn't really do
Well,
it.
you've made several really good points, and to follow up
And a
on
couple of
and a
stupid
couple of
ones.
stupid ones, but I'm not gonna mention those. But I do have one question for you though too. Is let's talk about marketing, because I think a lot of this just comes down to marketing. And I had said I'm going to revisit my comment about, should these companies be held responsible for some of the things that they make that may
Mhm.
not be healthy? And I makes me think of the liquor industry, alcohol. They
Yeah.
are forced, which we don't like that part of it, but they are forced after every commercial to say, drink responsibly. What would you think if a company, let's say someone who makes a really popular soda drink or pop, depending on what part of the country you're from, or soda pop,
Mhm.
what if they were said, and not, maybe they weren't told to say this, they just came out and said it. Our soft drink will make this happen. This could make this happen to your body. Like the Surgeon General warning on the side of a cigarette.
Yeah.
This will cause this, but go ahead and drink it anyways. It's your choice. What would you feel if they self-regulated and actually came out and said that to people, saying, you want to drink our soft drink? You'll probably get fat. You'll probably get diabetes, but we're going to make it anyways. And if you buy it, great.
Look, some people might love the honesty, and maybe they'd buy more of it and revel in their chubbiness. But I, to me, I think that if I'm on the board of directors of that company, I'm probably not going to be really happy.
No, I'm not.
That.
I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying, don't you think that would be more appropriate if for some reason someone did that? I mean, let's use
I
cigarettes as an
guess it's
example. People
anything.
haven't stopped
Yep.
smoking, but it says
Yep.
plain as day on the side of the pack of cigarettes that
Sure.
cigarettes may cause cancer.
Because that was mandated.
It
If
was
it were up to the
mandated.
companies, they would probably not
They
do it.
probably wouldn't, but it hasn't
But
really hurt their sales.
well, now cigarettes are a little bit different because they're so damn addictive, and I can tell you
Oh,
that
and
as
you're
someone who
not
was
saying soda's
addicted
not
at one
addictive?
time. Not to the degree cigarettes are.
Hmm.
No,
I
no,
disagree.
it's not.
I'm in
No,
that camp that sugar in and of
yeah,
itself is more addictive than pretty much any other substance. And trust me, I
well,
am one to say that because I am addicted to sugar. I love
sure.
sugar. Sugar makes me feel so good. If I had one
Me
addiction,
too.
it's sugar.
Yep, me too. And I know many people who fall under the same element. I think that, these are good conversations, because you could say the same thing about cigarettes, that that, anything in moderation and yada yada. Oh, my uncle lived till he was 110 and he smoked 2 packs a day, blah blah blah. I Look, there are arguments for all of that stuff. I think that we are, at the end of all the arguments, we are responsible for our own health and well-being. I think there is
Agreed.
enough research out there that shows what can happen. And I've heard people say sugar is a much worse poison than alcohol, or than, well, alcohol kind of manifests itself in sugar,
Right.
but some do anyway. And so, look, I don't have all the data on it to say I know for a fact this is killing me, but everything is killing
Everything.
me.
We are still living longer, and actually, I have
Sure.
actually that I think we need to talk about that in another episode,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I heard something that was very interesting about that statistic, and I know in our last episode we were talking about debunking statistics, but anyway, we in essence we're living longer, and we are for the most part healthier, with the exception of the obesity crisis, which I do
Yeah.
think is a crisis. But again,
Sure.
it's only really a crisis in the United States. But I
Yeah, I,
think
I think there are several reasons for that. I think it occurs in other
it
countries
does,
too,
just
but I
not at
think
the level it occurs here.
I would agree. I think per capita is probably worse here, but I think some of that has to do with the fact that uh, we are a much wealthier
Yep.
nation than many
I believe
others,
that
and
has a
so we
lot to do
can,
with it.
yeah, we can make those choices. But I think education is the secret behind a lot of it. That you need to be educated to make the best choices for you. And while not everyone agrees with those choices, that's not really the point of it. I don't need to do things because someone else believes it to be true. If it's dangerous and it's blatantly dangerous, uh, driving erratically, or shooting people at random, or things like that. That's where the government comes in. But when it comes to making decisions that have no impact or little impact on others, and only you, and look, you can again start talking about your family, and, well, we have a responsibility to protect them, and yeah, but I think personal responsibility is really the key to an effective society that works well together. We all need to be responsible for ourselves, and not that we don't help others or care for others, because we do, but it's not just I don't need to live my life worried about what somebody else is doing. I'd much rather collaborate and say, how can we help each other, not force feed somebody my own beliefs.
I agree with you to a point. I would say I agree with you about 90%, but there was a statement, and maybe it's just a as we're saying the same thing, but just differently as usual. Um, I am 100% on board with the we are responsible for ourselves. I'm 100% on board when it comes to helping other people. I think we need to be responsible for everything we do. We're the only ones that have control over our lives, so on and so forth. And but my biggest concern with that statement is one of the biggest things that worries me when I'm out and about doing stuff is what choices other people make. And that scares the crap out of me. That worries me the most. You had mentioned school shootings or shooting in general, not necessarily school shootings, but shootings in general. That's a choice someone made. They are being responsible for themselves. They're just making a poor choice. How do we combat that? And that I'm not saying that specifically, but just that general, thought process. And how
Sure.
do we
Well,
watch
I
out for
mean,
that?
here is
And how do we
some
not
people
be
have.
nervous about that?
Well, look, we can be nervous about anything. Again, it's that proverbial bus that's going to hit me no matter what I do, no matter what positive decisions I make or whatever. At some point, you have to recognize that we're not in control of everything. So, that said, we need to do things as a society to prevent against uh, uh, things like school shootings. So, if it's a mental health illness or a mental health situation, we need to take a closer look at that. If it's something else, well, that's fine. I do not believe, as many would propose, that the solution to a crazy person with a gun is to take all guns away from sane people. I don't think that's a good solution. I think it's a utopian idea that suddenly, instead of guns that this idiot used to kill someone, uh, that we should just take all the guns away. Well, that would be wonderful if it were a something that made sense, and b something that were actually viable. It is neither. And with 300 plus million guns in the US, you are not going to take them all. And the larger point is this, that if you are putting laws in place that are designed to stop criminals from committing crimes, by definition, criminals do not follow the law, because those who use a gun to kill someone, isn't killing someone already against the law? So why putting more laws into place does nothing to fix that.
No,
We need to concentrate on the solution, not on what makes us feel
I
better.
don't think anyone would disagree with you on that, or any sane person would disagree
Oh,
with
you'd
you.
be
Well,
surprised.
let me though. I don't think anyone would disagree if they really looked at it as, at the whole picture. The reason laws are made like that isn't necessarily because any of those people making the laws think it's going to help. It's because of, and I've had conversations about this with a lot of people in a lot of different instances. It's you. What's the word I'm looking, or what's the phrase I'm looking for? Um, Perception is reality.
Mm.
People perceive the fact that a law in place will protect them. Therefore, they feel more comfortable, even though that law isn't necessarily going to, because it has nothing to do with the root cause. We all recognize that. I think, like I said, even the lawmakers recognize that. And this is a great segue back into my TSA story, because
Please.
TSA, in my personal belief, and you can, the statistics back it up, TSA has done very little to prevent bad things happening on flights. TSA, though, the presence of those TSA officers have helped to make the public more comfortable about taking their flight. That is a fact. I don't have it in front of me, but I know it is because I've seen it. But I'm sure it can be discredited at some point, as everything we've talked about can be. But that is a true fact. So I think that those laws are there just to make the masses comfortable. It's kind of like a weather person. I say this all the time. Weather people are the only people on earth paid to be wrong. But when they're predicting the weather, they're predicting for the largest number of people in their general area. And if you actually ever went to talk to a meteorologist and have them forecast the weather in your specific little area, they will be correct 85 to 90% of the time.
Interestingly, I have if I may, I have a friend who is he is actually a garbage collector. And several years ago, he expressed an interest in meteorology. And he, to his credit, he has quite a following on Facebook. He invested in some weather equipment, and he goes by the handle of Weatherman Sam.
Nice.
And he's a nice guy. I know him personally, but the guy is really accurate. And more importantly, he is truly concerned about being right, because he looks at the models, and he's just really a cool dude. And I think what you said is absolutely accurate. It's We don't think about that. You watch a newscast or a weathercast in Houston, Texas, and Houston is geographically speaking, the largest city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone to say in the Woodlands, which is north of Houston, that they're going to have the same weather as Pasadena, which is south, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. You'd have to do different forecasts for the entire viewing
Exactly.
area. So
Every
you
metro
make a
area,
really good
especially
point.
the large ones, are made up of microclimates, and those microclimates could mean the difference between a rainstorm or a sunny day.
I've heard stories that and I don't know if it's true or not, but it may have been the Astrodome, that they actually used to get rain sometimes
Really?
inside, because the building was so big, and not as big as the Superdome. the building was so big that it would often have its own little climate areas that would take place. And I don't know if it's true or
Huh.
not, but I heard that, and I had no reason to debunk it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was
Well,
interesting.
anyway, going back to what I was saying, sum up because I don't think I actually finished my TSA story, and that's what everyone tuned in for this week for.
Oh, there's no question
Yeah.
that, but this is how we drag them on, though. Isn't
Exactly.
this
Now we're getting
awesome?
to the end of the
We're
podcast.
brilliant.
The next step after this, after I tell everybody, is to head up to poddimouths.com to check out all of our past
See?
episodes, look at our affiliate links, and also check out our social media. Comment
And to
on
see what Nick finally said about TSA.
exactly. Should I carry I should maybe carry it on to the next episode? No, I
No,
won't do
you
that.
have to
I
tell
will,
us.
but
Come on.
before I do that, everyone head up to our social media accounts. We're interested in hearing what you have to say about a lot of the stuff. You know, it is a little bit it is a lot controversial, and you know, Jon and I are unique in many ways. I don't think we're that unique. I think everyone feels this way, but with social media the way it is, and with people getting attacked, that's a whole other conversation on social media. Well, that's a whole other conversation for us about social media.
Yep.
I think we've kind of lost our way when it comes to polite discourse.
You and I
You and
haven't.
I haven't, and I think that's what's so much fun about this. And we invite people to comment on the things that we've talked about because Jon and I are open to learning more. And you know, if you have a good argument that leads us to move over to your side, I'd love to hear it because that's what we're here. I'm here. I'm put on this earth to learn more and to love a lot of people, and that's what I'm trying to do. But there are certain people that I don't love, and those are those people that go through TSA pre-check because I have pre-check, or any of those other fast lane that don't do it normally, who aren't used to it, that back the line up. Drives me nuts. If you don't understand what TSA pre-check is or haven't done your research, please just go into the regular line with everyone else because you're
Yeah,
slowing
but
down those professionals who
I
use
don't
it
know
all
if
the
they
time.
can. I don't know if you can. I think if you have pre-check on your ticket, you have to go through
Depends on the
pre-check, I
airport.
think. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Seattle, you're
I didn't
absolutely
know
right.
that.
Seattle, they'll make you go to pre-check. Chicago,
To whatever you're
O'Hare,
assigned,
yeah,
yeah.
you have to. But Nashville, Minneapolis, those places, no, you can do whatever you
Oh,
want. Yep,
really? I did not know
yep.
that. That's interesting. Yeah, and just to bandwagon with you, that and look, if it's an older couple or if it's a family with kids, or I get it, that's fine. And if I'm traveling on the weekend, I'm going to give you lots of grace. But during the week, it's primarily business
Yep.
travelers, and if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing when you get there, then maybe check it out online,
Yes, that's all
or
I'm asking. I'm not
read up
asking
on
for
it a little
them.
bit before you go.
I'm really not asking for them not to use it. I'm just asking for them to understand how to use it. Do your research. If you're going
Yeah.
to do it, or if you're not experienced with it and you maybe bought a first class ticket and now you have to do pre-check, just go online and see what that means. Just get
If
educated.
there are people in front of you, who who you anticipate will be slower, will you go in the other line, Nick?
If there's another line, yeah. If I think that line's going to go faster, absolutely.
Well, it's kind of, and so here's what I equate it with. I used to drive a lot in Chicago, and back in the old days, they had the toll booths. They still have toll booths, but they had them where you would throw the change in the basket,
Hmm.
and everybody did because the electronic readers were not an option back then.
Right.
And my rule was never follow somebody on a motorcycle.
Oh,
Because they have to stop and put it in neutral and reach into their pockets. And I'm a
yeah.
motorcyclist, so there's nothing you can do to speed up that
Yep.
process, really. So anyway, yeah, you have don't go through the line following, grandma and grandpa and three kids or something like
Well,
that
but again,
if you can
if you
avoid
can
it.
avoid it, but at the same side, those people should take responsibility for themselves to learn a little bit more. If I take Peyton with me, she's automatically TSA pre-check. We have a conversation before, and she's used to it now. But still do it. Have a conversation before. This is what you need to do when you get up to the line. I'm going to carry your bag. I'm going to put it on there. I want you to walk through, and I want you to wait on the other side right there.
You're a well-traveled, loving parent, though,
Yes,
so that's
but
good. Nice job.
everyone should have that conversation. So
Well, I think so too, and it's funny, and just to close this, Lisa and I have had the conversation before where when we travel, either we're in John business mode or we're in all of us vacation mode, and vacation mode is much more laid
oh, I
back
bet.
and much easier throughout the whole thing, but if we need to get to the airport, we're going in John business mode
Yes.
because I can hammer through the airport with the best of them.
Well, to end it, you're better than I because I have not been able to separate the two in the airport. I am always in Nick business mode, and I know that it drives my wife and daughter absolutely crazy, and I apologize profusely whenever we get to where we're going, but it's going to take me a little while to change that. I'll work on it.
But you say, "But I got you there,
Yep.
ladies."
Yep. Exactly. No, I don't
Dude,
usually say
always
that.
fun, always fun
Absolutely.
talking with you, and thank you for our listeners for, again, giving us a little grace in this because, look, we think we know it all, and we don't, and we just appreciate the fact that you'll let us dabble in some of these serious topics because we don't often do it, and it's just kind of fun to do for a change, so
Yep.
thanks for the good discourse, Nick, and thanks for, being a friend that, I'm comfortable and we're in a safe zone where we can talk about.
Absolutely my pleasure, and likewise. And again, guys, join in the conversation. If you disagree
Do
with
it.
us, please let us know. We want to,
Or
we
if
want
you
to talk,
agree with
or
us.
if you agree with us. Yeah, I can't forget that
Yeah.
one. So anyway, have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
See you.